So we ran into a little problem with the camper over the weekend. Gonna have to see if I can fix this. This cable is held onto the spool just with this tab and a 7/16 nut. Gonna try and demystify this system a little bit, because when I first saw one of these, they seemed like magic. So the idea is when you crank from this spool, it pulls the cable through these guides, and then inside these guides along the cable there are stops that push springs this direction and that direction. The ones that push this direction go up these conduit, and up to the lift posts that are about here. Moving now to the back of the camper. This is the same tube from the front. You can see how it doubles back here at this pulley. This bottom part of the cable pulls that direction, pushing springs up through the conduit in the front. And then this top part of the cable pulls back this direction and pushes cables up through these conduit and up to lift posts at the back of the camper. We're lifting the front of the camper as high as we can using the trailer jack. And then we're gonna place jack stands under this cross member here, because that's a boxed in frame rather than this, which is just C-channel. So we've put a piece of 2x4 between the jack and the frame to distribute the load while we jack it up. So first thing we're gonna do is remove these rear pieces of conduit and the springs that are inside them. We're using a 3/8. This side is held in with machine screws. The 3/8 hex.
side of the box.
Okay. Oh, I got it. This side's coming.
You got that side?
Yeah.
Okay, well maybe once you get that side, you can move.
Okay. There we go. And then it should just drop down.
Yeah, there it goes.
Perfect. Okay, and then it should just come all the way out. All right. Cool. This is the bottom stop here coming out. This one pushes the springs for the bottom set of this channel to push the bottom set of springs for the front part of the roof. You can see where it broke. There's the stop that pushes the springs toward the back of the camper. The way this cable interfaces with these springs is it lays inside the guide on top of the springs, and then when you pull the crank, when you crank the winch, it pulls the springs through the conduit and raises the roof. This cable's about 3/16 of an inch. You may want to use gloves with this stuff, but make your own choices. All right, we've got this stretched out in the vise. This is the part that was in the winch just to measure it. So what are we at?
60 inches.
It's 60 inches plus.
Including the loop, probably 112 inches.
So what's 172 inches?
I need a calculator.
We've got the new cable laid out next to the old cable. The new cable is stainless steel. Stainless is a little stronger, and I want to be able to weld the ends, which you do not want to do with galvanized. So the next thing we're going to do is mark the distance between this stop and this stop. I'm gonna cut the old cable so that I can save this piece. Will not be saving that. Make sure to put this piece on to the new cable before you add the stop on the other side. So you'll need to take that other stop off, slide it onto the new cable before you crimp it here and at the bottom. Should have set my shop on fire. Set that box on fire. I'm I'm gonna weld these up because I can. This isn't necessary, and definitely don't do it if it's galvanized. I can do it because this is stainless. I had to smash that down a little bit on the anvil to get it through, but there it goes. So the way it was originally set up was with the concave side of the stop against the crimp. Make sure to get that lined up, and then we'll crimp it on the vise. You never fumble around more except when you're on camera. Oh, see? I'm opening the vise. So having a little bit of trouble getting it to crimp down just with the vise, so I put a couple of nails in there. So same thing on this side. The stop's gonna go with the concave side against the crimp, and then we're gonna need to thread this end back through if we can. So here's the finished cable. It's 184 inches long total. The original cable was 172 inches. We added an extra foot. The difference between this side of this stop and this stop, the inside of this stop, is 67 3/4 inches. There's a little bit of adjustment in the system, so it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, and your camper may be different. We're gonna grease them up with this white lithium grease for no other reason than because it's what I had lying around. I'm sure somebody in the comments is gonna have a better suggestion. We already cleaned these up with just blue shop towels, and we already dropped the ones out of the front and did those while we were in here. You'll feed your looped end through the pulley. And then feed it into the top section of this tube. And then you'll slide your springs in so that the cable rests on top of this little bracket. You help me push these in? Okay, stop. And your open end of the cable slip in to the bottom tube. Not slipping. Be sure when you're putting these in that they're cut here with a space in the center. Be sure that the cable isn't being pinched between the two halves. There's a space. Make sure that it fits into the space. Can I get some in down here before you do that?
Yeah, but wait a minute.
I'll put them in loose.
They're not lining up at all.
That's okay, we'll get them lined up. Let me just get these in so they don't slip around.
Right.
Doing this all one-handed sucks. Why did I decide to be a YouTuber? Okay, before I tighten this down fully, let's get the rest of the screws in. This conduit protrudes above this bracket a little bit. Be sure that that's seated in the hole before you try and put the screws in.
Yeah.
My ratchet foo needs work. I don't think that this was set up properly originally, so I am using the example of the newer trailer that my parents own. And on theirs, it comes in from the bottom of the spool, goes up through this hole at the top, just above this flange, just above this bracket, and then it's looped over this axle, and then doubled back. Okay, I think that'll do it. Cool. Okay, well, sure, isn't it? All right, moment of truth.
good?